My name is Janice Ladd, and I'm 35 years old. 7 months ago, my life split cleanly into a before and an after. And the worst part was that no one heard it happen. No shouting, no slammed doors, no dramatic scene from a TV drama. Just me, alone in the dark at 2 in the morning, staring at my husband's phone screen while he slept beside me. The messages weren't subtle, they weren't coded, they weren't even ashamed. They were from a woman he'd saved under a fake name, but the intimacy was unmistakable. He told her what hotel he'd booked. He told her how he couldn't wait to see her again. He told her things a man only writes when he's already crossed a line he can never uncross. I sat there, holding the phone like it was a grenade that couldn't decide when to explode. My husband, Jason, lay breathing softly next to me, peaceful and unbothered. Meanwhile, my heart had already cracked open, bleeding quietly in the dark. I didn't wake him. I didn't scream. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't call the other woman. I froze. The tears didn't come until later, in the shower where the water drowned out the sound, in the car where no one could see me, and once, when the kids were asleep, with my face buried in a pillow to keep the sobbing quiet. But that night, that first night, I didn't cry. I simply shut down. The next morning, I made coffee. I made breakfast. I tied shoelaces and signed permission slips. Jason walked into the kitchen, kissed my cheek, poured himself coffee like he wasn't actively tearing our family apart. "Morning," he said casually. "Morning," I whispered back. I wish I could say I confronted him immediately, that I threw the phone at him or demanded the truth. But my reaction wasn't fire, it was ice. Instead of blowing up, I quietly collapsed. Something inside me folded in on itself so tightly I wasn't sure it would ever open again. Over the next weeks, I grew silent. Not out of strategy, out of numbness. Jason would ask, "Everything okay?" I'd answer, "I'm fine." He'd ask, "Need anything?" I'd mutter, "No." We went from partners to strangers sharing a kitchen. Eventually, I learned to avoid him entirely. I stayed late at work. I walked the long way home. I sat in the car for 20 minutes after parking, pretending to scroll while really just breathing. I watched him lie. Watched him disappear for meetings, watched him hide his phone under pillows. Every new deception was another quiet cut, and he never even noticed me bleeding. About 3 months after discovering the affair, I found a lawyer. In my country, infidelity still has legal consequences. I didn't want to ruin him. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted out, cleanly, safely, without a second betrayal. I paid the retainer. I kept the invoices. I kept the emails. Then one day, I left the divorce lawyer bill on the kitchen counter, right next to the fruit bowl Jason reached into every morning. If he saw it, he said nothing. If it scared him, he hid it well. I took his silence as confirmation. He didn't care. He had already chosen someone else. I was just the placeholder holding up the other half of his life until he figured out how to rearrange it. But our kids noticed. Kids always do. One night, as I tucked my daughter into bed, she whispered, "Mom, are you and Dad mad at each other?" My chest tightened. Behind me, in the hallway, I could sense Jason hovering just out of sight. He wasn't listening to fix anything. He was listening to avoid responsibility. "No, sweetheart," I said softly, brushing her hair back. "This isn't your fault. Sometimes grown-ups forget how to be good to each other. But we both love you. That's the part that will never change." I knew Jason heard me. He didn't correct me. He didn't ask what I meant. He didn't even blink. He just walked away. That was the moment I knew we were truly, irreversibly over. After that, the tears slowed. My shaking hands steadied. Something inside me began stitching itself together, thread by thread. And then, of all places, of all moments, I ran into someone who lit a spark I had assumed was long dead. It happened in the cereal aisle of the grocery store. I was trying to decide between 2 brands, the expensive one my kids preferred and the cheap one my budget preferred, when I heard someone say, "Janice?" I turned and froze. Broad shoulders, warm eyes, a smile I remembered from years ago. "Marcus," I breathed. Marcus Hale, the guy from my senior year of school who used to walk me halfway home, by coincidence. The boy I'd always had unresolved tension with. The almost something that life pulled me away from before either of us was brave enough to reach for it. He laughed softly. "Wow, I thought it was you." But I kept thinking, "No way, you look amazing." I actually blushed. When was the last time someone looked at me and really saw me? We caught up right there, blocking half the aisle as people steered their carts around us. It felt ridiculously natural. Years melted away like they hadn't existed. He asked about my life. I admitted I was married with 2 kids. His eyes searched mine when I said it, like he could see the fractures beneath the words. Happy? He asked gently. My throat tightened. It's complicated. He nodded. He didn't pry. Marcus always knew how to leave space for the truth without demanding it. After half an hour, he finally cleared his throat. Okay, this might be crazy timing, but would you like to get coffee sometime, just to catch up? For one beautiful, dangerous second, I pictured it. Sitting in a quiet cafe, laughing, feeling like Janice the woman, not Janice the wounded wife. Then reality snapped back. I can't, I said quietly. Not right now. Bad situation, he asked. Very. He nodded again and pulled out his phone. Here, he said, typing in his number. You don't owe me anything. But if you're free, call me. I'd really like to know the woman you became. I swallowed, hard. He smiled, soft and warm. Take your time, Janice. We parted at the checkout. That night, instead of circling the block or sitting frozen in the car, I walked into my house with a steady breath and a new kind of strength in my spine. Jason glanced up from his phone. You're home early. Sit down, I said, my voice calm in a way that startled even me. We need to talk. He frowned but obeyed. I've known about your affair for 7 months, I said. I've checked out. I've been preparing for divorce. I want my life back. I want to start dating again, when I'm free. His face drained of color. So, I continued, it's time for us to get divorced. Don't you agree? For one split second, I expected relief. Instead, Jason's entire face twisted, and he broke. And that was when everything became terrifyingly complicated. Jason didn't just frown. He didn't argue. He didn't protest like a normal guilty husband caught in a lie. He collapsed. His face twisted into something almost unrecognizable. Confusion, fear, disbelief, and a raw panic I had never seen on him, not even during the worst nights with crying babies or job layoffs or hospital scares. What? He whispered, voice cracking. Janice, no, please wait, you don't understand. Then the dam burst. He launched forward, grabbing my hand so tightly my fingers went numb. His whole body shook. Please don't do this. Please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll fix everything. I swear I'll fix it. The sound he made was not normal crying. It was a broken animal sob that shook the room. I just stared at him. 7 months. 7 months of him ignoring me, lying to me, sneaking around. 7 months of me spiraling silently into emotional starvation. 7 months of his apathy. And only now did he suddenly find his tears? I thought I began, but he cut me off with a desperate choke. I made a mistake, he cried. A horrible mistake. It didn't mean anything. I was stupid. I don't know what I was. Please just don't throw us away. Don't throw me away. Throw him away? The irony tasted bitter. You threw us away, I said quietly. 7 months ago. He shook his head violently. No, I didn't think you knew. I thought things would just go back to normal. I thought you'd still love me. That we could fix. Fix? I repeated, stunned. Jason, how do you fix something you kept breaking over and over again without even acknowledging it? He let out another strangled cry and covered his face with both hands. His shoulders shook. The rawness of it would have impacted me once, maybe even destroyed me. But right here, right now, I felt nothing. Or maybe what I felt wasn't nothing. Maybe it was clarity. Cold, sharp, necessary. Janice, he gasped between sobs. I'll go to therapy, couples counseling. I'll quit my job. I'll delete everything. I'll show you my phone, my passwords. You can have everything. Just don't divorce me. I'll do anything. I blinked at him because this was a man who, just weeks ago, couldn't even muster the energy to text me a simple, I'll be home late. Why now? I asked quietly. He froze. Why now, Jason? Why not 7 months ago, when I cried myself to sleep? Why not when I left the lawyer bills out for you to see? Why not when you heard me telling our daughter that sometimes grown-ups can't stay together? He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. That's when it hit me. He wasn't terrified of losing me. He was terrified of something else. The kids, his reputation, the legal consequences of cheating in our country, which could cost him everything. His sudden panic felt too sharp, too disproportionate. He wasn't fighting for love. He was fighting for damage control. Jason, I said slowly, do you even care about why I'm leaving? Or do you just care about what the divorce will look like for you? He shot up from the couch like I'd slapped him. No, I care about you. I love you. I never stopped. The words sounded hollow. Love doesn't hide in hotel rooms. Love doesn't send secret messages at 2 a.m. Love doesn't let their spouse bleed silently for months. You didn't even ask why I checked out, I said. You didn't ask why I stopped talking to you, why I started staying out late, why the lawyer bills were sitting on the counter. I didn't think... No, I said calmly. You didn't. He fell to his knees in front of me, literally knees. It would have been dramatic in a movie, a grand gesture. In real life, it was messy and painful to watch. Please, Janice, he whispered, voice trembling. Just give me a chance. One more chance. I'll make everything right. I swear on my life. I swear on the kids. I'll do anything. Anything. I stared at him. This man I used to love more than air. The father of my children. The partner I had trusted with everything. And all I could think was, where was this energy 7 months ago? The silence between us stretched until it felt like the walls were holding their breath. Finally, I said, I don't want your promises. I don't want apologies. I don't want therapy or transparency. I want my life back. He sobbed so hard his breath came in gasps. Jason, I said gently, you need help. But I'm not your nurse. I'm not your emotional trash can. And I'm not your second chance. His eyes widened, a sudden look of terror. He reached for me again, and I stepped back. That tiny movement shattered him. Don't go, he choked out. Please, please. I exhaled slowly, steadying myself. I'm calling your sister, I said. I'm not dealing with this alone. He didn't argue. He couldn't. He just collapsed against the coffee table, hysterical and trembling. Within 20 minutes, his sister arrived, eyes wide, face pale, scanning me like she expected bruises. When she saw Jason sobbing on the floor, her expression morphed into this stunned understanding. What happened? She whispered. I told her, plainly, calmly, every word. She closed her eyes, shook her head, and knelt beside him. Jason, I warned you. I told you this would happen. He clung to her sleeve like a drowning man. I stood there silently until she helped him up and guided him to the door. Before leaving, she looked at me, guilt, sympathy, and a hint of apology in her eyes. I'll take him, she murmured. When the door closed behind them, the house fell into absolute silence. I stood there for a full minute, breathing slowly, deeply, letting the quiet settle into me. Then it hit me. I felt relief. Not joy, not victory, but oxygen, real oxygen, filling my lungs for the first time in 7 months. I should have been shaken by his reaction. I should have felt something. Fear, pity, anger. Instead, I felt hollowed out, clarified, clean. But later that night, lying in bed alone, I stared at the ceiling and replayed the breakdown over and over. The begging, the desperation, the panic. And a cold thought lodged itself in my mind. What exactly is he so afraid of losing? It wasn't me. I knew that much. His tears weren't about love. They were about consequences. And the more I thought about it, the clearer it became. Jason wasn't terrified of losing our marriage. He was terrified of losing control. For the first time in months, I slept. Not well, but without sobbing into the pillow or jolting awake with my heart pounding. Even so, when morning came, I felt hollowed out, like someone had scooped out all the soft parts of me and left only bone. Jason's breakdown the night before replayed in my mind like a movie trailer on loop. His crying, his panic, his promises, his collapse. None of it added up. A man who barely acknowledged me for months suddenly falling apart the second I asked for divorce? It wasn't grief. It wasn't love. It was fear. And if fear was involved, then I needed a plan. A real one. I made coffee, sat at the dining table, and stared at the blank wall across from me. Then I opened a drawer, pulled out a pack of printer paper, a thick marker, and a roll of tape. One by one, I wrote headings at the top of each page. Our kids. My marriage legal steps. Meeting with Jason Marcus. The other woman's husband, what I need to protect. Then I taped them to the wall in neat rows. The wall looked like something out of a detective show, a grim little collage of everything my life had become. But seeing it laid out like that gave me the clarity I'd been missing. I picked up the marker again and stepped closer to the paper titled, Our Kids. They were my first priority, always. Under the heading, I wrote, Individual therapy for each child, family therapy. Tell teachers discreetly, keep routines stable, no fighting with Jason in front of them, make new positive memories, more time with my side of the family. I stepped back, my throat tightened. They didn't deserve any of this, but they deserved a mother who wasn't drowning. I moved to the next paper. My marriage. The marker hovered above the page before the words finally came. I don't love Jason anymore. I don't trust him. Marriage cannot be rebuilt without trust. Even if I could love him again, I don't want to. Staying would teach the kids that betrayal is acceptable, divorce is necessary, emotional detachment is permanent. Seeing it written down made it real. I imagined what our wedding vows would look like now. Something brittle, something sharp, something dead. I breathed out slowly. Then I wrote the sentence that sealed everything. He ended our marriage, I'm just finishing it. Legal steps. This section grew fast. STI test. Done. DNA tests for the kids. Booked. Consult lawyer again after meeting with Jason. Document every conversation. Keep evidence secure. Prepare for custody discussions. No emotional decisions. Stay calm. I paused. DNA tests. Not because I truly doubted my children. They had Jason's eyes, his hair, his smile. But because I wasn't going to let the future slap them in the face someday with unanswered questions. They deserved medical clarity, genetic history, certainty. It wasn't mistrust, it was protection. Meeting with Jason. This was the page that mattered most. Under it, I wrote, "Stay calm, don't be cruel. Speak only in facts. Avoid emotional traps. Don't argue. Don't negotiate reconciliation. Be clear. Marriage is over. Discuss only logistics. Stay for no more than 2 hours. End the meeting if he escalates." Then I hesitated before adding, "And do not give false hope." I stepped back again. He needed to understand that no amount of tears, theatrics, or promises could erase 7 months of betrayal. Marcus. My hand slowed as I approached this one. Seeing his name in black ink on white paper felt intimate in a strange, quiet way. I stood still for a moment, thinking of his warm eyes in that grocery store aisle, the softness in his voice when he told me to call him when I'm free. Then I wrote, "Do not contact him until divorce is final. Avoid emotional attachment. He deserves honesty. I deserve clarity. Keep boundaries. Life is messy, but don't drag him into mine yet." I remembered the moment he typed his number into my phone, the gentle way he said, "Take your time, Janice." It had felt like a lifeline, but I wasn't ready to reach for it. Not yet. The other woman's husband. Under this heading, he deserves to know. Only share what's necessary. No emotional entanglement. Don't use him for validation. Protect the kids. Coordinate through lawyer if needed. I'd seen enough stories online to know that betrayed spouses sometimes clung together out of pain. I wasn't going to let that happen. I wasn't going to build any relationship, friendship or otherwise, on the ashes of infidelity. When I finished writing, the whole wall stared back at me. A map, a plan, a way forward. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was drowning. I felt prepared. Then came a knock at the door. Jason's sister stood outside, her expression tense. "He wants to meet," she said. He hasn't slept. He's in bad shape." I nodded calmly. I was ready. The meeting. We met in our living room. I sat on the far side of the couch, putting space between us. Jason looked worse than the night before. His eyes were bloodshot, his face swollen, his hair unwashed. His hands shook visibly. He looked like guilt in human form. "Janice," he whispered, voice cracking. Please just hear me out." "I will," I said, "but this won't change the outcome." He flinched like I'd struck him. His sister sat nearby, ready to intervene if needed. Jason started talking, or rather, unraveling. The words tumbled out in a messy, desperate confession. "I don't know why I did it. I was stupid. I thought it would stay a secret. I thought it would just be something that didn't affect us. I didn't think it would hurt you." He ran a shaking hand through his hair. "I was selfish, completely selfish." He handed me his phone with trembling fingers. "I blocked her," he said. "A month and a half ago. Look." He unblocked the number. Messages poured in like a broken dam. Dozens, maybe hundreds, all unread. His sister gasped. I stayed still. "See," he pleaded. "I ended it. I tried to fix myself. I tried to—" "Jason," I said softly, "you didn't end the affair because you wanted to save our marriage. You ended it when you realized you were losing control of me." He stared at me, stunned. "I've taken an STI test," I continued calmly, "and I've booked DNA tests for the kids." The color drained from his face. "No," he whispered, shaking his head violently. "Janice, no. Please, I swear, there was never—" His voice broke, then his entire body shook. He cried, deep, chest-crushing sobs that shook the room. For a moment, I wondered if he might pass out again. His sister tried to comfort him, but he clung to the couch instead, gripping the fabric like it was the only thing keeping him upright. "Janice," he begged, I will do anything. Anything. Open marriage, my passwords, therapy, whatever you want. Just don't let me lose you. Don't let me lose our family." His desperation filled the room like choking smoke. I inhaled slowly. "I'm not interested in supervising you," I said. "I'm not interested in controlling you. I'm not interested in rebuilding what you destroyed." His face crumpled. "Our marriage is over." He sobbed harder. 5 hours of tears, confessions, breakdowns, apologies, bargains, and collapse. By the end, his nose began to bleed heavily. Stress, exhaustion, dehydration, who knows? When he swayed, I grabbed his shoulders before he collapsed completely. "Call an ambulance," his sister cried. "I'll drive," I said, because he may have broken my heart, but he was still the father of my children. Hours later, after I dropped them off at the ER and made sure he was stable, I walked back into my house. The wall of paper waited for me, silent and firm. My roadmap, my refuge, my truth. And for the first time, I knew exactly who I was again. Janice Ladd, mother, woman, human being, and someone who would never, ever settle for someone's leftovers again. The house was silent when I returned from the hospital. Not peaceful silent, hollow silent. The kind of quiet that settles into your bones, reminding you that a chapter has ended even if the paperwork hasn't caught up yet. Jason was still being evaluated at the ER. His sister stayed with him. I didn't ask for updates. I didn't need to know. For the first time in 7 months, the burden wasn't mine to carry. I walked into the kitchen and glanced at the wall of papers again. Some pages fluttered slightly from the air conditioning, like they were breathing, waiting. I stared at the one titled My Marriage. It felt final. My phone buzzed. Jason's sister. "He's stable. They think the stress triggered everything. He's asking for you, but I told him you needed space. I hope that's okay." I typed back. "Thank you, that's okay. Please take care of him." Because even when someone breaks you, you can still wish them safety, just not access. The aftermath begins. The next morning, everything began unraveling at once. First came the video call from Jason's mother. Not a warm, supportive mother-in-law, but the kind who believed image was more important than honesty. "Janice," she said, voice thin with panic, "Jason told me you're divorcing him. Don't make any rash decisions. Think of the children." I inhaled slowly, keeping my tone neutral. "I am thinking of the children." "Then give him another chance," she snapped. "He made a mistake. Men do that. You can't let one mistake ruin a family." One mistake? 7 months of lying, cheating, disregard, emotional abandonment, all reduced to one mistake. "Respectfully," I said, "I'm not discussing this with you." She scoffed. "You're throwing away a good man." I hung up. Another message came minutes later, this time from an unknown number. "Hi, Janice. My name is Daniel. I think my wife was the woman involved with Jason. He confessed everything. Can we talk?" My stomach tightened. I knew this was coming. The other side of the story. The collateral damage. I typed back. "I'm sorry for what you're going through. I can confirm what Jason told you is true. I can send the evidence, but I can't offer emotional support." He replied instantly. "Please, I just need clarity. Can we meet? Even just briefly?" I stared at the message. I imagined him sitting alone in a living room that felt just as gutted as mine had been. A man blindsided. A man who didn't deserve any of this either. And yet, I couldn't take on another person's grief right now. "Not yet," I wrote. He didn't reply. Jason starts talking. By afternoon, Jason had done something I never expected. He told the truth. Not just to his family. He confessed to his parents, his siblings, his best friend, and, most shockingly, the HR department at his workplace. He told them everything. The affair, the months of deception, the breakdown, the hospital visit. His sister sent me a voice note. "He's not trying to win you back anymore. He's trying to punish himself." I didn't respond. Because remorse doesn't rebuild trust. It doesn't erase betrayal. And it certainly doesn't resurrect love. The guilt. That night, after putting the kids to bed, I sat in the living room alone. The house felt too big, too quiet. I wrapped a blanket around myself and stared at the wall of papers, the ink markers of a life I never wanted but had no choice but to navigate. Guilt crept in slowly. Not guilt for leaving. Guilt for being the one who had remained functional. Jason had broken down completely. I was the one holding everything together. The kids, the house, the logistics, my job, the emotional load. But I wasn't supposed to feel guilty for choosing self-respect. Still, the guilt whispered. Did I break him? Should I have tried harder? Is this too harsh? Should I be doing more? Then, like a counterweight, another voice rose inside me, quieter, steadier. He broke himself. You are not responsible for the consequences of his choices. I breathed out. Maybe this was what healing looked like. A war between two truths. The pressure. My phone rang again the next day. Jason's cousin, then his aunt, then his mother again. Everyone had the same script. Give him another chance. He's suffering. You're being too cold. Think about your vows. You're ruining the family. Ruining the family? Interesting how no one had used that sentence when he was sneaking into hotel rooms. I blocked 3 numbers before lunch. A metaphor that finally made sense. That evening, while scrolling online, I read a comment that struck something deep in me. Marriage is like a base you build together. He smashed it. Now he wants your help to glue it back together. But every missing piece leaves sharp edges. And every time you touch those edges, you will bleed. I sat completely still, my eyes burned. That was it. That was the truth. I wasn't protecting myself from Jason. I was protecting myself from the shards. The final moment of peace. That night, after the kids were asleep, I stood in front of the wall again. The papers fluttered softly, like they were waiting for something. I reached up to the sheet titled My Marriage. I held the edges. I inhaled slowly. Then, in one smooth movement, I pulled it off the wall. The tape released with a small, soft rip, the only sound in the room. I stared at the empty square of wall, a blank space, a space that could be anything now. I folded the paper and set it aside. It no longer belonged in my future. Then I turned to the page titled My New Life. Under it, with trembling fingers, I wrote 3 words. Call Marcus when ready. I didn't mean tomorrow. I didn't mean next week. I didn't even mean next month. I meant when healing isn't a battlefield, when love doesn't feel like betrayal waiting to happen, when I no longer doubt myself, when I am truly free. The house was silent, but this time the silence didn't feel hollow. It felt like the beginning of something. Not revenge, not justice, just consequences, and a woman choosing her own life again.